We had exactly one top 10 showdown on the schedule. Pretty quickly turned into a beatdown. The final score, number 6 Gonzaga 101, number 8 Baylor 63. That 38-point win represents the largest margin of victory for any team in a season opener against a top 10 opponent in the history of the AP poll. It tipped as midnight Eastern was approaching. It ended around 1:30 Eastern. Norlander, did you make it to the end? And if so, why?
I was going to ask you. Good morning, GP. By the way, people are already noticing. We did not play. If you're watching, we did not play on this. We both have blue hats on and red shirts. USA Election Day. What do you want from us? There we go. He's going Taylor Swift. I'm skiing in the East here. You look wonderful. So no, I recorded the game. I made it to halftime, and then I knew I'd get up early with my kids. Election Day, schools are not open because schools are used for people to go and vote. So I knew I'd be up early. And listen, when I went to bed, Gonzaga was well in control. And so I had some curiosity. Like I didn't know when I brought it up, the result of the game. And it got 5 minutes into the second half. And I was like, I was watching on YouTube TV. I was like, okay, we're just going to scroll ahead. And sure enough, no shot. Utterly dominant. That's a wow. I mean, a big time wow. To me, way more about Gonzaga than Baylor. Shouts to Evan Miyakawa. We mentioned him on a recent preview pod. He had Gonzaga number 2 in the country, higher than any human or metric, period. And boy, did that bear out. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see we've got the that's up there. Thank you, Nada, for that. So you can get a good look there on what we saw. Yeah, there we go. Nice little early hey YouTube moment there. We are officially back. 1.44 points per possession for Gonzaga. This was a message sent. Considering like Ryan Nembhard had a good game with 11 assists. He only had 6 points. You had Caleb Battle in the first game in a Gonzaga uniform. He had 12. Nolan Hickman looked really good. He had 17. Graham Ike had 15. Dusty Schromer in the first half announced his presence with authority there. Gonzaga looked like we were checking in at a home game against Portland on January 20th, man. They were humming, absolutely humming. First time Baylor's ever lost by more than 30 under Scott Drew. Just Gonzaga got out to a good run. Baylor took like a quick, like a 1-point lead that held for like 30 seconds, and then that was it. So my takeaways are way more about Gonzaga and what they are capable of doing, especially. I mean, they're improved on defense as well. Let's credit for them for that. But offense, man, 69% from 2-point range, 41% from 3. They made 13 trays. It was an absolute wow. I think they went 24 on a 24-4 run in the second half to start, and it was just an absolute wrap there. So, give me your thoughts, GP, on what was about as shocking of a result as we could get, because even if you thought Gonzaga would win and maybe win with some ease, no one on the planet had 101-63.
It felt a little like, and like you, I watched it at 5 o'clock this morning. I woke up, got a cup of coffee, and turned it on. And not only did I not make it to the end, I didn't even make it to tip off.
Well, you got the game. You got the game in, but my gosh, buddy, that's a tough scene there.
Now, hey, yeah, it was my silent protest against the sport.
Okay. Well, now it's no longer silent, but yes.
Yeah. Now it's a public protest of the sport. But last night it was silent in the sense that I didn't mention it to anybody, not even my wife or kids.
GP, continue your thoughts. They started the game on ESPNU because they wanted post-game coverage on the Deuce for Monday Night Football. It was outrageous.
Yeah, I didn't know that, but it's insulting. It's ridiculous. It's a stupid way to start the season.
Yes.
I mean, what other sport starts the season at nearly midnight Eastern with your biggest game? Your biggest game to start the season. Like, imagine if the Chiefs win another Super Bowl and then they open the season next season against the Bills at midnight.
I know.
It's just stupid. So I silently protested. Now I'm publicly protesting. It felt a little like I'm about to choke. Kentucky from a few years ago in the Champions Classic. You remember that?
That's a great call. That's a great call. Yes.
It was like, what in the world just happened? Like, I want you to understand my experience. I woke up at 4:30 this morning, grabbed my phone and looked at it and went, what in the world?
Oh, so you turned it on anyway, even though you knew the score.
Well, I as I'm prepping for,
Yeah.
I've got multiple shows today. As
Yeah.
I'm prepping, I just put it on like in my office right above me, and I'm listening to it and watching it and reliving it. But I mentioned earlier it got out of hand very quickly. It didn't actually. It was probably 10, 11, 12 minutes in before it really started to separate. But then it never stopped. Like you said, 51% from the field, 41.9% from three, 13 to 31 from beyond the arc. Is that normal? Are they going to take 31 threes a game?
Why the hell won't they? I mean, I don't know if they'll average 31 by season's end, but after the way they looked, how just well-oiled GP. Gonzaga still, the window is not closed. That was,
oh yeah.
I mean, the window is not closed.
I meant to ask you about your Gonzaga's title window has closed under Mark Few, buddy. That was a rough one for you last night.
It's a whole remodeling situation. They blew out the sidewall and it's floor to ceiling bay window situation there. That is it's damn good. Yeah.
All right. So obviously, overwhelming victory for the Zags. I don't know if you saw, because I went and looked at the post-game press conferences as well. Scott Drew was kind of funny. He was like, well, they look like a team that brought back 8 or 9 starters, and we look like a team that brought back 1. Obviously, you can't bring back 8 or 9 starters. 5's the limit. But they did bring back.
Scott might have been a little out of sorts after his team's getting their absolute.
I don't mind. I know it must have felt like they brought back 8 or 9 starters when you're down 38. They did bring back literally everybody except Anton Watson from a team that once again went to another Sweet 16, like the millionth in a row. So they're obviously good and they look the part, but let's not bury the lead. There was a viral moment in garbage time of this game that happened to involve 5-star freshman VJ Edgecombe and not quite 5-star anything. Joe, I shouldn't even say that. It's Mark Few's son, Joe Few. He's a young man I first met many, many years ago when I went to Spokane for I believe it was Illinois Gonzaga game on a Saturday night in prime time. I fly into Spokane. I go over to Mark's house, actually. He invited me over for Friday. I thought we were going to be watching film, like getting ready for a game, because I've spent nights before games. I promise there's a point to this story. I've spent nights before games with lots of coaches over the years, and it's always, or at least usually, they're in it. They're watching film and watching more stuff than they probably need to. And that's what I thought we were going to be doing. Instead, as I walked in, Mark was literally sitting at the kitchen table playing Go Fish with little Joe Few. That was the scene. And that's when I knew Mark Few is a better man than me and most, because he is capable of putting work aside and really spending real time with his family and kids the night before a massive game. So that's when I first met Joe Few. Never even occurred to me that I'd one day see him get humiliated on national television. But it happened last night. Woo! Nada. Let's look at it.
Might blow the roof off this place if Joe Few scores. And a steal for Joshua Jonwina. Wow! VJ Edgecombe, my goodness. That staggered Joe Few.
Poor guy gets in the game. Welcome to the game, Joe. Welcome to the game. Oh, that's tough. You know what, though? Joe tried.
He did.
He tried. He jumped.
He did his best. He did all he could do.
What the hell is...
That's all you can do.
There's a minute 40 to go in a 40-point game. What the hell is VJ Edgecombe doing in the game?
Dunking on Joe Few
on the floor,
so he can embarrass Joe
top
Few.
5 pick. You got Joe Few getting mop-up minutes. Just happy to be on the floor. Mark's like, "Yeah, get in there, kiddos. Let's see what you got." He gets nutted, man. Are you kidding me? That was Danny Green-esque. That's only, by the way, VJ Edgecombe finished with 4 points, and those were 2 of them.
Yeah, it wasn't the best debut that any freshman had last night. That probably belongs to Trey Johnson at Texas. We'll get to that eventually. But
maybe I got a few. There's another one that had a hell of a night, but keep going.
Yeah, you called your shot on UCF over Texas A&M. You also kind of called a shot on Constantinople. We'll get to that. But Edgecombe, buddy, he got the highlight. He had the highlight of the day, and that was over Joe Few. How loud do you think they were laughing in the locker room after the game? I mean, Gonzaga's locker room.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the whole point, is that they win easily, and then you have something like that. I mean, if that happens and you're down 28, then really what the hell's VJ Edgecombe doing in the game? But no, I'm sure that was quite the entertaining scene there. Hey, listen, when nepotism goes wrong, okay? Get him on the floor. Joe Few, at least he gets to say he tried to D up on what is inevitably going to be a future NBA starter there. But yeah, Edgecombe, 4 points, 7 boards, 3 turnovers, 2 blocks, a steal. Just okay. I thought the best player was probably Robert Wright. I mean, Norchad Omier had 15 points, 9 boards. He was probably the most productive, but Robert Wright had a couple of really good moments there. But overall, like from Baylor, come on. They have, I think a lot of this was Gonzaga personally, but it was evident that they've got some interior defensive stiffening to do. And I think overall what they are on defense needs a few tweaks, to say the least. But again, won't overreact too much as you might want us to, because we're eager to get going here on this Tuesday and recap Monday's stuff. To me, this was 85% what Gonzaga was able to do and 15% what Baylor was not.
I obviously dropped Baylor in the top 25 and won, but not completely out. Like, I don't want to harshly punish somebody for, having the whatever it takes to go play a game like this on the opening night of the season. Most coaches are hesitant to do something like this. Scott took his team to downtown Spokane, and they were on the wrong end of it, undeniably. But I like the idea that he did it. I think I moved Baylor down to 17 in the top 25 and 1. Gonzaga up to number 7. Let's move on. I asked Norlander yesterday. You saw it in the opening. If he thought a ranked team would lose to an unranked team on the opening day of the season, he said yes, and then he told us to keep an eye on, among other games, number 13 Texas A&M at UCF, and then the Aggies lost as 5.5-point favorites